Starting off development as a spin-off, a side story, the 0.5 to Resident Evil 2 comes what might just be my favorite of the PS1 era. What makes it special though? Resident Evil 2 is more known in the era when compared between the 3 siblings.
Am I a joke to you?
Okay, 4 siblings. But we'll get to you when we get to you, okay? And Resident Evil 1 is the one that started it all. So where does that leave 3? What occupation can it take? What could it possibly have that the other 2 don't have?
Stars.
Only a single year is the difference between Resident Evil 2 and 3. 1 year. That's not a lot of time between games. A very short dev cycle. And yet, there's a lot of improvements. Some that would carry over the entire franchise. For example, the quick turn. It's not some overly drastic change, but it is a great quality of life improvement. You also don't have to use the action button to move upstairs. You can just, move up them. It's crazy, I know. There's also a way to dodge, if you can get it to work. That's great, right? Small improvements over the actual controls of the game. But how does that work in the favor of this game compared to the other titles? It doesn't. Don't get me wrong, those changes add a lot of modernization to the game, but if all you improve is the controls, add more enemies on screen, and tell another story about escaping from Raccoon City, you really would be just a 0.5 to Resident Evil 2. So, what was Capcom's solution to that? Introducing Nemesis, an idea that Capcom flirted with in Resident Evil 2. You know, this guy, just dialed up to an 11. I think Capcom realized zombies could no longer be scary, and with it being the 3rd entry, there's a lot players are already used to in these games, and expecting by now. Nemesis is not any of those. He's fast, strong, aggressive, pursues you non-stop, big.
For you.
He adds this constant dread, always wondering where he'll be next, feeling almost random, but he's not. He's scripted. It all depends on the player's actions. Resident Evil 3 ditches the 2 characters, no more A or B scenarios. Instead, it was replaced with a life selector, giving you a prompt between 2 choices at certain parts of the game. And depending on what you choose, things change. It adds some cute little replay value. We're reunited with the Spencer Mansion survivor, Jill Valentine, in the midst of Raccoon City falling apart, as she too is looking for a way to escape. Resident Evil 1 and 2 favored more indoor areas, while 3 opted for more outdoor environments. We got a very, and I mean very, brief look at Raccoon City in Resident Evil 2. Here, we actually get to see the damage caused. A ruined city, more survivors.
What? What do you think you're talking about?
It feels chaotic. Running through the streets, we come across a familiar face who is also trying to survive the chaos. Chasing Brad down and fighting him at the bar, we get some more insight on what's going on.
The police aren't trained for this kind of situation. What could they do?
And gain a sense of uneasiness.
Listen, he's coming for us. We're both gonna die.
We'll regroup with Brad shortly, but first we need to burn this rope off with the lighter we found at the bar. Then we'll come across an old friend. Opening the gates to the front of the RPD, we find out what Brad was so scared of.
We've gotta...
See ya. And our first live selection. We can either fight Nemesis or run to safety. Of course we're gonna fight him. My one biggest complaints of past Resident Evil games have been boss fights. To be fair, there's still a terrible one in this game, but the Nemesis fights are really fun. I think the added benefit of him dropping items makes it even more worthwhile. The RPD is a very quick visit. We're only really here for 2 items. This gem, the lockpick, and to hear this beautiful man's voice.
No, this is Carlos.
The RPD is also a good place to showcase another thing Resident Evil 3 decided to be heavy on. RNG. Puzzles tend to have 4 solutions. Enemies can be varied in pattern and placement, and item locations change. For example, the Stars room will have a locker that has the chance to either hold the grenade launcher or the Magnum. For us, it's the Magnum. It's been far too quiet, so Nemesis decides to visit us via windows. Taking him down the second time will net us my favorite handgun in all of these games. It's so smooth, with a bonus of critical chance. With the lockpick, we can open up more parts of Raccoon City, exploring until we hear gunshots off in the distance. Investigating will lead us to this beautiful man.
What's that?
Calm down, lady. My name's Carlos.
And another run-in with Nemesis. Dropping him this time nets us the first aid box. It's a really good item. Our next destination after Carlos leaves us will be the newspaper office. Just here to grab this last gem. With those 2 gems, we can now open the doors to City Hall. After enjoying the scenery for a bit, we meet up with Carlos and Nikolai.
No.
Where we get a rundown of how we can get out of Raccoon City.
Fine. Then let's go over our plan. We're moving to the clock tower area, which is the designated landing zone for the extraction chopper.
Okay.
Once we get there and give the signal, the chopper will fly in and pull us out.
Writing this down.
So we have no choice but to use this cable car to navigate through it.
Got it. So we just need to get this cable car down to the clock tower, ring the bell, and we're out of here. Easy enough. So all we need to get is the power cable, fuse, and some mixed oil. Well, we picked up the power cable earlier, so that's one done. The gas station should have oil, and well, that is oil, but we need mixed oil. Let's keep going. The substation has the fuse, and the best weapon in the game. Now we need to hit the sales office up, entering only to find Nikolai being a very, very suspicious man.
I had no choice. He was about to turn into a zombie.
Kinda like that one guy on the STARS team. We kick back and turn the TV on and... Okay, with the oil additive in hand, we can mix our oils to get mixed oil. Let's run on back and get back to the tram. Oh, hi, Nemi. Bye, Nemi. We can't just go straight to the tram. That would be too easy. Instead, we get stopped by.
Let's get forward!
I hate it, 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 I hate it. Replacing the tram parts, we're all set to hit the clock tower. Just Jill, Carlos, and this guy whose name I can't pronounce. Definitely not Nikolai. That guy is dead. Right. Can't forget Nemesis too. You got this, right? I'ma just go. See ya. With being a hero, but also setting our tram on fire, we have two options. Use the brakes or jump out the window. We're not Leon, so no window jumping for us. After that derailment, we arrive at one of the coolest locations of the Resident Evil game, period. The clock tower, which has crows. I hate it, 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 I hate it. Now all that's left is to find a way to ring the bell in order to escape. Unfortunately, there's a missing gear. Puzzle time. We got a little music box puzzle. Basically, keep the song in tune and it'll spit out a key once completed. Before we can even use the key downstairs, Nemi pays us another visit, although a pretty simple one this time. Just shock him a little and he's down. For a second. With the key, we gain access to another area with a very annoying puzzle. One of my least favorite puzzles so far, only because it doesn't really feel like a puzzle, more like a guessing game. The goal is to get the middle clock to line up with the others, and each of these balls have a value when placed on the tray. I just kept going at it until I eventually got it, netting us the gold gear, and when combined with the silver gear, gives us the main gear for the tower. Now that the clock tower is ringing, that's our signal to get out of here. Just like that, Resident Evil 3 is finished. You know, people complain about the remake being short. This is a mandatory boss fight with Nemesis. No running away, you have to fight this one. Here's a tip for this fight, or any of the Nemesis fights. Freeze rounds are your best friend. They're made using something unique to Resident Evil 3. Well, now 3 and the Resident Evil 4 remake, gunpowder. By combining A plus B, it'll give you C gunpowder, and if you combine two C's, it'll give you the gunpowder for freeze rounds. Freeze rounds are really effective against him. I only had 10, but he only needed a few more shots after to go down. After this boss fight though, we'll be switching to Carlos as Jill is infected with the virus. Playing as this handsome man, we need to find the vaccine for Jill. Earlier there was a bell we couldn't push in one of the rooms, so it's best to start there. Once the bell is out of the way, we get access to the streets again. And would you look at that, there's a hospital nearby. Convenient. The hospital reintroduces my favorite enemy of all time, hunters. Well, fuck. Looking around the hospital, we find out Nikolai did in fact survive.
Nikolai?
What an absolute twist.
Alive?
And he's still being incredibly sus.
Saw what happened.
Entering the sick room, the room looks oddly familiar. Almost like it's identical to the room next door. The puzzle here being you need to match this cabinet to the one next door. No, not like that. There we go. The code for the safe for us is 325, getting us one part of the vaccine. The other parts we need are going to be in the basement floor. Acquiring the medium base and then doing another puzzle. Look, I was really tired when I did this, so it took me a long time. But I did it! Combining the two halves gives us a full vaccine. On our way out of the hospital, we are swarmed by a lot of hunters. Not just that, there's also a bomb set to go off. I wonder who could have done that. And not just that, once we reach back to the clock tower, Nemesis is back. But who cares about that? Our main concern is getting Jill back up, and when she is, we're back to playing as her. Big reminder, before you leave this room, make sure you have the lockpick on you. Another note, if you find yourself anxious about Nemesis chasing you, like I do, whenever you enter a new room, you can sit at that door. He won't enter until you move from that screen to another. It's good if you need to catch your breath, or heal, or change underwear. We're going to the park now. The park area can be random. You can get zombies, worms, or hunters. We need the park key to open the door over at the cemetery. Then we finally get a little break. Warm little fire in the cabin, and what's that? We use the iron pipe to further investigate, and it's a secret room. We get the other park key here, and find out Umbrella is the reasoning behind this again.
All supervisors, mission terminated. Return immediately.
But if I'm not mistaken, the US military is also involved, and Umbrella didn't want them to have any samples of their stuff, so they sent the squad in to clean up things and also dropped in Nemesis to deal with the STARS member. And Chris left to Alaska to look for Umbrella or something like that. It's wild. Oh yeah, and Nikolai is here. Gentle reminder, there's another boss fight right out the store, and I hate it. It's not fun, mostly due to tank controls and the way the boss moves underground, making it so awkward. You can deal with the worm in two ways. Either wait enough time for this lamp, I'm not sure how long you have to wait because it never worked for me, so instead I came in with acid rounds. It destroys this guy. All you need is 12. Well, fuck. Don't worry. Even if you don't have enough, he only needs a few more shots after. The last area of the game is going to be the factory. To get there, we have to cross a bridge. Oh yeah, and Nemesis. This is a pivotal point and one of your last life selections in the game. Depending on your choice, it will lead you to one of multiple endings. I chose to push Nemesis off. See ya. The factory is pretty straightforward for the most part. We need to find a keycard. Typical of the last area of Resident Evil games. It's not as simple as picking it up from a room this time around though. We need to be able to open a door, but it's locked through two parts. One, we need to reapply the power. Second, we need to do a water check. To reapply the power, we just gotta do a quick puzzle to get the air from the pipes out of the way. The water check is a little longer process. We're going to need a water sample, then head on down to the lower levels, where we get another puzzle. I kinda like this one. It took a few tries, but I got it eventually. Before we can enter the system disc, we got one last cutscene with Nikolai. He finally tries to make a move and secure his retirement.
My bonus.
That's great, except I have no intention of contributing to your retirement fund.
But Nemesis gets his little grubby tentacles on him first. See ya. Before you enter this room, make sure you're prepared. It's another mandatory Nemesis boss fight. I made sure to have a lot of freeze rounds, and he went down very quickly. Alternatively, you could use the acid pipes too, but I was just loaded in ammo. And there's our keycard. Opening a pathway and blasting through will reach comms.
Jill, where are you?
With Carlos, who happened to have found a helicopter.
The chopper engines are running and ready to go.
Convenient. We just need to reach there and we're home free. Just gotta do it before the missile impacts us. Simple enough. Just 2 hallways and we arrive at the final room of Resident Evil 3 and our very last fight with Nemesis. I gotta say, it felt very satisfying and it helps that this room is really cool. Scattered around are dead Mr. X's and military. Makes a very fun background to the final fight. In a poetic way, Nemesis is no longer some scary tall thing, but instead just a blob of flesh barely able to crawl. And yet, he's still trying to chase you down. To use the rail cannon, we just have to push the batteries back into the wall. With the charge, we can use it to put Nemesis down and finally head to the exit. Almost. We got one last live selection. I chose to give Nemesis the proper death and well, just enjoy all this good old cheese.
You want stars? I'll give you stars.
That's finally it. We reach Carlos in time and we fly off. End credits and a banger song. I really enjoyed my time with Resident Evil 3, and it's crazy to think that this is our last Jill appearance until Resident Evil 5. Replaying through all these, I do think this might be my favorite of them. It's just a fun time, and you really see how they started adding even more action to these games with every title. I also did really terrible my first time around. I got an E rank. For my next video, I'm going to pull a Capcom. Subscribe, like if you'd like, but regardless, I'll see you all there next time. Take it easy.